welcome to Her Name is Aurora. Today's name is the name of an artist that I've discovered when I was very young. But before we dive into her story, just so you know, I'm sick. I think I've got a cold again. It's the second time within like 2 months, so I'm a bit annoyed, but I live in the north of England and I live by the sea, so it's always like lots of wind and all of that, so I get sick quite often, so hopefully it's going to be the last one of the year. But it's just so you know, if you hear my voice it's a little bit funny, that's the reason. But to go back to the story of today, we're going to talk about an artist that I've discovered when I was very young, because whenever we were going on holidays to one of my aunties in France, in Toulouse or Bordeaux, we always had one of her CD, was actually my dad's one of her CD in the car, and I always thought that this woman was really beautiful, and this beauty is at the root of the success of that artist. I've mentioned the name of Abeti Masikini last week, the artist with the revival of Abeti Masikini. Her name is Mpongo Love. For those who haven't watched the video about Abeti Masikini, I would really encourage you to go and have a look at the video, because to really understand the music atmosphere at the time, you really need to understand that Abeti Masikini was almost exclusively the only woman in the Congolese music scene. So really, to understand Mpongo Love's story, understand Abeti Masikini's one is quite helpful. So I really encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, just go and have a look right here. So we're going to dive into her story right now, and you'll see that the very beginning of her life have been made of hardship, both around her health and the political situation in Congo at the time.
Bakake ezanga mpula ebeti na motema motema mo bibi na kokiteo.
Alfride Mpongo was born on the 27th of August 1956 in the city of Boma, which is in the west coast of the Republic of Democratic Congo. Her mum was the head of a school for women and her dad was in the military. So what's going to happen is that in 1960, when she was only 4 years old, she's going to have a penicillin injection, and the consequence of this is that she's going to be completely paralysed for 2 years. And during the same year, in 1960, her dad would unfortunately die because of a military issue at the time. So it's going to be a very difficult year for her, and for the next 2 years she's going to go over lots of health issues. But after 2 years of health treatment, she's going to recover the use of her legs, but she's always going to have a little bit of difficulties to walk. So despite of these 2 years that has been extremely harsh, both emotionally and physically, for Mpongo Love, she's going to keep going to school, and she's going to be in the school called Notre Dame de Boma, and in that school, that's when she's going to start singing, and she's going to be singing in the school choir, and at this time it's really going to help her to develop all her talent for music. Mpongo Love will not jump into the world of music out of the blue. It's going to take her a couple of years to actually start her career. So we're just going to go back into what was the very beginning of her music career. So Mpongo Love will not directly jump into the music world. What's going to happen is that she's going to be doing her studies, and then she's going to be personal exec assistant in a car company, and following that, it's going to be with the help of her friends that she's going to start progressively going to the music world. And among the friends who can help her out into the music world, there's a very specific person, and his name is Ndaya, and that person was a saxophonist both for Tabule Rochereau and his music band Afriza International, as well as Franco Luambo Makiadi and the Tout-Puissant OK Jazz Band. So what's going to happen is that he will decide to gather several musicians as well as composing several songs for her, and together they're going to create her very first music band that was called Cheke Love, and at the same time she will officially decide to be called Mpongo Love. And it is with the help and support of the saxophonist that I was mentioning previously, Ndaya Mpongo, that she's going to be doing her very first concert in the Cinema Palladium in Kinshasa, which is nowadays the Cinema Police. She's going to be doing that concert with a band that I've mentioned on the video about the story and life of Papa Wemba. She's going to be doing that concert with the band Zaire Longa Longa. And her very first song released is called Pas Possible Mati. And that song will be an absolute success, because if you do remember on the video about Abeti Masikini, I was mentioning that the music world at the time was exclusively masculine and the only woman was Abeti Masikini, so it was having a new feminine image in the African and Congolese music world. And not only did people like the song, but they also liked the fact that her voice was very particular, very specific. They also liked, obviously, what I was mentioning at the very beginning of the video, her beauty. And they were also very moved by her story and the fact that she remained disabled after all the health issues that she had when she was very young. So having Mpongo Love was something, a very boost of fresh air in the music world at the time in the Congolese music scene. And it is the very beginning of the love story between Mpongo Love and her public. So the following year, in 1977, she's going to be performing with a band called Lietoupas, and one of the musicians that will be on tour with her is called Ray Lemmer, and he's a pianist and a very good musician of jazz. So if you don't know him, I would really encourage you to go and have a look at his YouTube channel. But when she's going to be doing this concert, she's going to be singing songs that were composed and written by Mayola.
Bon anniversaire, mes vœux les plus sincères, que ces jours mémorables chéris nous portent bonheur. Uswanelaka opesakine, nakoya lelo nampokwe. Notre rendez-vous de ce soir, je viendrai chérie.
And Simaro is one of the co-founders of the band Tout-Puissant OK Jazz of Franco. And it is with the great help of Mpongo Love, Mayola as well as Simaro that she's going to manage to become an absolute star in Congo in Africa. And over time and with confidence as well, she's going to start writing and composing her own song. And this one song that she's going to be composing with Mayola, and that song is probably one of her biggest success. It is Ndaya. The song Ndaya will be an absolute success all over Africa, and the song will touch the heart of women, especially because it was debunking a situation that lots of women were suffering from, which is polygamy. And despite of being a little bit controversial at the time, the song will be an absolute success all over the continent, and it's not the only song that will be a great success. So I'm going to put a couple of songs so that we can dive together into the greatest success of this album of Mpongo Love. And obviously, great success means touring, and she's going to be doing her first Transcontinental tour in Congo, Brazzaville, Central African Republic, which is my country, as well as Uganda and West Africa. And at the same period of time, she's going to go in Abidjan, in Ivory Coast, and she's going to be doing a couple of concerts in health center, and it was something really important for her. And not only will all the money gathered will go for that center, but she's also going to have a huge success in the public in Ivory Coast. And when she's going to be performing in West Africa, she's going to be doing a concert in Ikeja, Nigeria, for a very specific festival, which is called Le Festival des Arts et Culture Nègre, which was created by the Ministry of Culture in Zaire at the time. And the Ministry of Culture at the time will also create its official band, and that band will have two parts. One part will be run and led by Taboulé Rochero, and the other part will be led by Franco Macchiardi, which is one of the co-founder of Le Tout-Puissant OK Jazz. And Mpongo Love will be part of Franco's section. Franco will be working very closely with Mpongo Love, but is not going to be the only artist, female artist at the time he's going to be working with. He's also going to be working with a woman called Abeti Masikini, which is leading us to the next part. For those who haven't watched the video about the life of Abeti Masikini, which is right here, what you need to keep in mind is that 3 years before the very first success of Mpongo Love, Abeti Masikini has been in one of the most prestigious French venues, which is Olympia. So she was at the time an international artist, but not only was she an international artist, and there was absolutely no one else around. There was no competition. So when Mpongo Love arrived 3 years later with her beauty, her voice, and this sort of candor that she had, it really created something really different, and it shaked a little bit. It reshuffled the line around who was the actual best artist at the time. So in the eyes of the public, there were a different type of opinion. Some of them were actually seeing Abeti Masikini as the older sister. For those who are coming from the region of Central Africa, you will know the word Yaya, which means older sister, older brother. So some people would consider her as the Yaya, but other people would actually think that Mpongo Love will actually take over what Abeti Masikini was at the time. But because Mpongo Love was someone discreet, and this is not just about this situation, generally speaking, she has been a very discreet person. She didn't try to nourish that little revival situation, which was more of a gossip one. And there will be one of Abeti Masikini's song called Bilanga Langa, which means to follow up on someone, and a part of the public will use that song, use the lyrics of that song and misinterpret what it means, and actually say that Mpongo Love is actually following up on what Abeti Masikini is, and she's actually following and copy what Abeti Masikini was doing at the time. And when Mpongo Love will release the song Koba, which means to be mean, to be very noted to people, have a very evil attitude, basically. When that song will be released, the same public will actually transform and misinterpret again the lyrics of that song, and actually relate those lyrics to what was actually the song of Abeti Masikini previously. But this war, this revival between the two artists was never an official one, and it was always in the public eyes that they try to actually create something. But the two artists actually perform together in the Cinema Palladium.
But Abeti Masikini will not going to be the only one with an international career. Mpongo Love will also have a thriving international career, which is leading us to the next part.
Obimina butu osali monzele okei kokutana yo na baninga osali maquillage oniki pe molato parfum moke na nzoto lako.
So in 1980, she's going to stop working with the saxophonist that she's been working with for a couple of years, and she's going to actually go back into the music band that she originally created, Chicka Chicka Love, and she's going to actually change slightly her way of working, and she's going to be doing a tour in Africa, including in Ivory Coast. And later on, she's going to be releasing an album that she's going to be doing in Paris, and the album will have a great impact. So I'm going to put a couple of songs so that we dive into some of the greatest success during her international career. At the same period of time, she's going to start having some more health issues, so she's going to go back to Gabon, where she was living at the time. So when she's going to go back to Gabon, what's going to happen is that unfortunately she's going to be very ill, so she's going to go back to Kinshasa. But unfortunately, after a couple of weeks of treatment, she's going to pass away, and it's going to be a massive shock, not only for Congolese public, but also for Africa, because she was someone extremely popular, and the man who actually helped her to become the star that she was, Ndaya and Mpompo, will sadly pass away just a couple of days after her. And even if we'd celebrated only 2 weeks ago the 33rd anniversary of her death, the artist is not only someone that I really appreciate because of her songs, and she's also very popular with the new generation when you say the amount of covers that are still done nowadays on her song, including Ndaya. But I absolutely love the artist because her story and Her life story is something absolutely inspiring. She never let her disability prevent her from being the great artist that she is, and she actually made that a strength. So I'm pleased to have shared the name of the story of Mpongo Love. I do hope that her life story inspired you as much as she's inspiring me, and I really encourage you to go and have a look at her daughter's YouTube channel, Sandra. She's doing really well as well, so if you want to go and have a look at the great song that she's doing, it's right here. But I'm pleased to have shared the name of Mpongo Love, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you.
bandeko bakuya biyekomisi ngai boye nakolaka boye te na ndako babotinanga nakolaka boye te ome prene pour une fille exemplaire bana bake bapesanga kombo manelo soki lelo nga nakomi boye yokatina